have to say, I do love that roaring in the intro every single time. Hello and welcome everyone to the Africam show powered by Explore. Very happy to have you all here while we look pretty much live at these giraffes that are all the way in Kenya, while I sit all the way back in South Africa, which is a pretty wonderful thing if you think about it, that we can see wild animals from the comfort of our homes. Now, you hear some fidgeting and doing things around. I have my own wild animal at home. He is a 6-month-old Labrador puppy that has decided that he doesn't want to look at the giraffes, but rather would prefer to drive me crazy today. So I apologize in advance for anything. But onto the real important stuff. This is a live and interactive show. So if this is the very first time that you're seeing us, know that you can send us your questions through whenever or wherever or from wherever you're watching, and we would love to answer them. And if you already know what's the expression? If you already know the drill and you know what to do and you want to say hello, please do send them through. I don't think I've mentioned this, but if you're wondering about the name of the voice that appears through your screen or device, my name is Ellie, and I am coming to you all the way from South Africa, which is looking, I should say, pretty gloomy as what Kenya is right now. It's pretty crazy to think that at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, well, 5 for Kenya side, it's already looking like that. It's been a strange couple of days. I think the whole continent has had rains, and we are at the verge of the rainy season pretty much everywhere. And we've had lots of things happening. So in this show, we're going to be looking at a variety of different cameras that are scattered across Africa, and we'll see what we can come across. For now, Aldonio is always performing the goods. I see some of you have already joined us and are saying hello, so let's go and have a look. So, I am sorry, I probably don't know how to pronounce all of this, but Casper's Third Ghost, good morning, ready with hot coffee from a blustery, flurry-filled Milwaukee. Well, sounds like you and I are pretty much the same. I don't have a hot coffee today because I drank my fair share in the morning, but I have probably one of the meanest hot chocolates I've ever made. I even melted the real chocolates, not the powder, so it's pretty great. No wonder my puppy's upset with me because I won't give him any. Jarell, you're saying you're joining in from a chilly Toronto, got a fresh hot Java and a smile. Good morning, Ellie. Well, always good to wake up with a smile. That's generally the way that we want to go, isn't it? Dia NC, you say happy Halloween from Seattle. I'm ready for the show with your coffee. Absolutely. Maybe, you know what? Actually, I keep forgetting the whole day that it's Halloween. And maybe that's why the weather is looking so spooky, sort of like a planet Earth type of joke for us that keep calendars and things like that. Glinda Newman Craft, you're saying hello, Ellie, joining from Indiana with a glass of orange juice. Well, it seems like we're all in pretty far parts of the world. I think you guys outweigh the African presence around here, but luckily on my side I've got the very big giraffes that if we go by total weight, they're already winning. Where are you going? Don't go. Just as I'm, saying good things about you and your presence. It's really hard to judge what the animals are going to be doing and things like that. But in general, with weather like this, where it's not as hot as what it's been during the day, sometimes we find that the animals are a little bit more active. They might just move a little bit later on. They've been feeding a little later on. If there are cubs or little ones around, they've just been doing more things because it's not been as hot as what it is. And it's been a strange year, I should say, altogether, but it is nice to see all the greenery in the background. I mean, if you've been watching the show for a while, and we are here every Tuesday, you would have noticed how the greenery behind the giraffe and the trees and the bushes and the acacias have actually also started turning a little bit now that we have a bit more rain. Oh, look at that giraffe just stretching. I love all these yoga that they have to do. It's amazing. I think I will never get tired of watching giraffes drinking. It's just so not meant to be. I mean, the things that they've had to do, they have this special or this interesting adaptation in their brains that slows the flow of the blood all the way to the brain when they put their heads down, because of course, their hearts, they have a high blood pressure because their hearts have to pump all that blood all the way up the neck. And then when they put it down like that, imagine they would just get a rush and then probably faint. And then their legs have to stretch funny ways, and then they always do that little jump when they go and do things like that. They are amazing though. I do love them. But again, I don't think it's something that it's meant to be. Funny enough, of all creatures, I think giraffes are perhaps one of the ones that drink the least. They don't have to drink every day and get most of the moisture from what they eat. So if you imagine a cloudy day like that, there's probably been some rain. They've just been eating their drinks, or they've been drinking while they eat their food. It's an interesting adaptation. I think there is a spoonbill. I would be interesting. Chris is just giving me updates about what the other cameras are doing. But let's head over to Tao while I say hello to all of the newcomers that have decided to join the show now, just because I'm interested to see what Mandique would be like this afternoon. Wonder if we're going to have like sunny sky or we're going to have a cloudy sky all throughout. There's Ada in Cedar Falls, Iowa, that's also said hello. Hello to you. And Bob from Kalamazoo, you're saying hi, and what's my puppy's name? Well, Bob, because I'm all the way away from my home country, which is in South America, in Venezuela, I decided to name my dog a very Venezuelan word. His name is Cambur, C-A-M-B-U-R, and it means banana, because he's a yellow lab. He's being a bit of a banana head today. But anyway, hopefully he will settle, because I've got to work so that he can live his best life. April Lowe, you're saying hi everyone, sitting with your iced cherry tea. That sounds nice. I wish we could have some tea. Maybe tomorrow if the weather is nice. But for now, it seems like Tao is also, which is in Mandique, which is far still from where I am. It's not the greatest weather. That does not stop the stilt, the geese, and the spoonbill from looking for food. If anything, when it's cold, a lot of animals actually have to eat more because we're all mammals, so we're not like crocodiles and other reptiles. We create our own heat. We metabolize our food and then create internal heat. That's basically who we are and what we do. So when it's really cold, we generally, I don't know if you've noticed, even when you're cold, you eat more, or you drink more coffee if you're addicted like I am, or you drink more tea just to try and keep warm. So you're constantly ingesting things because your body is just is burning through calories to try and maintain a certain body heat. JJ, you are wondering if most water birds get along. I mean, for the vast majority, yes, unless they're in direct competition. I mean, if the fish eagle were to come down there, I don't think things would be as happy, especially if it's maybe targeting something other than a fish. But in general, because they don't all feed on the exact same things, then they tend to be okay. Some birds, like the spoonbills, they're just like filtering through. They've got very sensory bills, and then they're just trying to feel for food around there. Then other things like the geese, they will filter through the sediments in the water. The stilts might be catching little frogs, same as the blacksmith lapwing in the back, like sort of back right. They might just be catching little frogs, little insects, and things like that. So it's, as long as there's no direct competition and there's enough space and they don't really have what we would refer to as nutritional stress, then yeah, why not? If there's enough for everyone, then everybody just feels fine. It's generally, creatures like hippos and elephants that don't like sharing resources as much just because they don't want to. I mean, fair enough, lions wouldn't either, but you know what I mean. Rolling Trouble, welcome. We're very happy that you made it, even if you were a couple minutes late, don't you worry. You've just missed the beautiful giraffe that we know. And we're kind of hoping that we will have a little bit more action. I heard from today, in case you weren't watching live, that we had some wild dogs that appeared at a camera earlier on, and they actually even chased an impala into the waterhole. They were all the way at Rosie's Pan, which is pretty cool, I would say. I don't think I've ever seen wild dogs in one of the camera traps, or never while I've been doing this show. I mean, I'm just trying to think, but I don't think that's been the case ever for me. Anyway. I do love spoonbills. I feel like, I would get dizzy going from side to side like this. But at least, Chris, seeing that you're all the way in Durban, and she also says she's very cold, doesn't it make you feel better to know that as South Africans, we're all freezing together? One nation united under rugby and bad weather. That is always the case. And if you're looking at those big blobs all the way there, those are actually, well, some of those are mud, of course, but then, some of them are, what are you doing? Egyptian goose? Egyptian goose? Yes. Some of them are actually elephant dung. It takes a while for it to start decomposing, and then of course it adds nutrients back into the water, but it's It's a strange concept for us, isn't it, as humans? Defecating where you drink your water and then other things come and drink it. Just goes to show that all of these animals have very powerful stomachs, which we don't always do. Timber Grace, you're saying good morning from snowy Minnesota. Ooh, snowy already. It's a bit early for snow, isn't it? Although I think we had actually last weekend, believe it or not, there are parts of South Africa where it snows in the winter. And it snows a lot and it gets very cold. So I would say minus 15 Celsius, which is what I heard. So that, I don't actually know what it would be in Fahrenheit, but it is below 32. Way below 32. So it would be pretty cool. I think this looks like a tawny eagle of sorts, almost. I can't really see the eye, but just judging by the color, it looks like a tawny eagle now that we are at Rosie's pen. It actually wouldn't be surprising if it were one of them, because as I was saying earlier, there was a lot of commotion today because the wild dogs came around and they chased an impala into the water and actually ended up killing it and eating it. So there were some pieces of meat and things left and scattered all around. So for animals like the tawnies, when they're also scavengers, so when they start flying around, they keep an eye out on the ground for things that they might want to eat. And then, of course, as they see things that they want to eat, then they sort of start coming down. So you'll have the battaliers, the tawny eagles that are the first ones that come down if they find a carcass or any meat that's left. And then they are the ones, if the meat is big enough, or they are the ones that would signal to the vultures, the different vultures that fly up high, that there might be something, a carcass or something that they want to come down. And it's almost like this giant net, this almost inverted umbrella that when one starts coming down, and if the second one comes down, then you'll see a lot of them coming down. Okay, so show us where the carcass is. Just wanting to warn everyone, just give you a bit of forewarning. In case you don't want to see this, we're going to zoom into where the actual kill was that the wild dogs made. So if you don't want to see that, maybe this is the time to go refill your coffee. Oh, wow, that was very far away. Well done. Let's see. It doesn't seem like, they did a good cleanup job. I'm sure that Wahlberg's is there somewhere just waiting for a scrap. I'm sure it's seen something. It's amazing what these animals can see from the sky. I mean, if you think about it, yeah, sure, a drone eye view from the above might be easier, but, okay. That is definitely where it all happened. So you see that big blotch. You can see, I actually dragged it quite far because it seems like it was on the right, and I could be mistaken, but it seems like they dragged it from the right all the way onto the left, or did they kill it there? It just seemed like there were some stomach contents and things on the left that we can't see. And then, of course, there is the impala. It looks like a female. I don't see horns. But they've killed and then they left something. So something like this for the tawnies that are flying, the tawnies, the battalier eagles, eventually even maybe hooded vultures or white-backed vultures will come down because they can see the animal. It's quite out in the open. And even though it doesn't seem like there's a lot for us, there is enough for a lot of other scavengers. So it would actually be quite interesting to watch tonight because there's enough for it to attract hyenas, maybe jackals, maybe even a leopard that gets lucky. So I think tonight is going to be a really cool experiment just to see what actually comes around. Oh, Chris is unfortunately sharing the update that this was an impala female and that she was pregnant, and then they saw the fetus as it was dragged out, which is very sad. I mean, impala, or most of the female impala in southern Africa, should be pregnant and or about to give birth. I did hear that in the southern Sabi Sand already, in a reserve called Sabi Sabi, they're already reporting the first little impala lambs that are being born, which is around about time. I mean, we've had a lot of rain and animals have had so much food that I suppose it's a great time to raise the little ones. The moms can eat their fill and then produce more milk and then raise the little ones to adulthood quickly because they're definitely going to be chased by a lot of things. So it's a little bit sad that we lost not one impala but two, but also that an entire pack of wild dogs. I wonder, I mean, there is always a possibility that maybe they will come back. I don't know if they ran off or they rested close to the side, but generally with wild dogs, they come, they get into this feeding frenzy, they eat, and then they leave. There are many things that generally trail them, hyenas being one of the main ones, and then of course, if the hyenas are trailing them, they're going to try and want to steal whatever it is that they've got. So they tend to eat their fill, go quickly, and then move on to the next thing. April, I think you were referring to the spoonbill that we were seeing earlier. You said it's very skilled with his bill. It is, and it never ceases to amaze me how animals, birds, or wild dogs or lions, how dexterous, if I can use that word and apply it for the movement of their mouth parts, they are. Because all of those animals, I mean, we can do everything with our hands. But imagine if we didn't have these hands and then we have to rip things apart with our teeth. Of course, our teeth wouldn't work for that, but just to catch prey and then to cut it, and then it's a lot that happens, and it's a very interesting adaptation. I always often have those conversations in my head. If I were a wild dog, how would it feel to then do this with my mouth? Could I lift my cup just with my mouth, not using my hands without making a mess? It doesn't always work. On that note, Lisa P, you say so much nature to watch. I'm sorry, that's your handle. Good morning from Chile, Ontario, Canada. That's also very chilly. You love eagles of any type. They are pretty cool creatures. I will give them that. I don't love them all equally. I find I prefer some others above others, but that always works. Okay. I want to see, I mean, would it be okay to zoom into the impala carcass? Would everybody be fine with that? Just, I think it would be interesting just to see what they've eaten, because of course it seems like they've done everything, but if it's too gruesome, we can always zoom back and then just have a look. Because I mean, if you're not, it is Halloween after all, so I suppose if there was a day to have a kill, it would have had to be today. Because well, the karu, you say that's it on the left. Wow, it's practically shredded. Well, I think it is. That's why I would like to have a closer look at it. So we are working on going closer to it. But it'll be interesting to see just how much there actually is. Because animals don't just feed randomly. They don't just go in there. I mean, there is plenty there to make the eagles happy, that's for sure. But, they will eat the softer parts of the animal first. Generally, wild dogs disembowel their prey, so they'll go for the stomach, and then they rip apart the stomach contents falls out, and then that's the big blotchy patch that we saw earlier that was a little bit more to the right of where this was, and then they'll continue like eating, because they all go into this feeding frenzy. So everybody's trying to eat a piece, everybody's ripping it apart, like trying to, a lot of the times, fighting over the same part. So they'll go for the stomach, the rump, all of the organs first, and then they'll chew the various parts. But I mean, for a young male leopard, let's say, this would actually be a good meal. And for a hyena as well, really good. Because, I mean, look how much blood there is. Yes, there's still a lot of hair left, but it seems at least that there's a lot of left of the neck, and a lot of animals would eat also the cheeks, the eyes. And I haven't seen it often, but I've also seen leopards crushing the skull of impala or duikers before, just to go for the brain. To be honest, like that, I haven't seen it happen often. I think it's been maybe twice. Not a sight I would recommend. It's not the prettiest one. Let's put it that way. I suppose, nothing like a dead animal for a spooky Halloween, isn't it? I think, we've had a good look at the gruesome site, so maybe let's head back to Tau, because I think there are a lot of living creatures around, and maybe we can have a look at those. But definitely worth having a look at this, and interesting. Too bad that the wild dogs didn't come and join us for this afternoon. But of course, somebody's always keeping watch, and we thank all of the zoomies for that, in case something interesting happens and the wild dogs come back. I mean, in this weather, a lot of animals could be just chilling, or maybe they're just waiting until it's a little bit later, and then they'll come for a drink. There's still at the back. Some blacksmith, lapwing. Even Tao is looking green. It's generally quite dusty. Dusty is the word that I'm going to use. And of course I can hear an Egyptian goose all the way in the background. Or maybe a starling flying through. I mean, if I could convince you to do one thing, is if you ever do come on safari and you have the opportunity just to sit at a waterhole for a while, I would definitely recommend it, because you see so many things. And you find so many interesting behaviors just by sitting and forcing yourself to look for a while. Stitcher, you're saying looks like they didn't eat the brain. No, I don't think the wild dogs did. I'm saying that I've seen some of the animals do that in the past, and maybe if an animal like a leopard really wanted it to, they could also still eat that, but it doesn't happen all the time. The neck, for sure, I think there's enough meat there for something else, but if I had to take a guess, my guess would be a hyena or a leopard coming and just dragging what's left of that carcass, because it seems like there's still enough food there. You know, that Termite Mountain would be a great place for a leopard to hide and then just, pop its head up and look at us from all the way. Corinne, you say you hope that the impala didn't suffer for long. Well, this is a big debate. In general, the wild dogs have a bad reputation because everybody thinks that they're quite cruel in the way that they kill, because generally they go for the stomach, they disembowel their prey, and their prey dies out of shock. However, there is a fair amount of research that indicates that actually between the wild dog, or the method of killing of the wild dogs, and that of cats, namely lions and leopards, that go and suffocate their prey, they say that between the two, the more humane, if I can put it that way, type of death is the one that's offered by the wild dogs, because the prey dies quicker, and let's say it suffers for less of a period of time, whereas sometimes, especially if you see lions, like if they're fighting buffalo, if they're going for something bigger and the other animal is big and strong, it can be quite a fight, and it can be a while before it dies, and it's not a pretty sight. Whereas with the wild dogs, it's quicker, it's more instant, and it's done. So definitely, I mean, I do think that there's a level of shock and pain involved, of course. I don't think we can't say that that's not the case. But between all of the animals, perhaps the less painful one, or would be, or the one that is quick over the quickest would be the one of the wild dogs. So at least there's that, and that's, I think, one of the general misconceptions that everybody's been trying to address about wild dogs. It's just exactly that. It looks very gruesome because everything gets shredded and torn apart, and pieces go missing in all the different places. But all in all, apparently it's the less bad one. So we'll take it for them. It seems like it's also raining at Tau. Well, I mean, it could be, I'm going to say rain, but it could also be a lot of little mosquitoes and mice and things that are floating in the water. Although, judging by the look of this little Egyptian goose, I don't think he's enjoying life too much at the moment. Ironically, I'm saying this because, of course, it also started raining where I am, so I think Kambood is not getting a walk today. Not a walk in the park. It does amaze me. I think if you have ever been on safari, or if you have been outside in nature, it doesn't matter where you are, and you're under the rain, especially that soft little rain that almost lulls you, but for hours at a time, it is, in my opinion, one of the worst feelings out there. You just feel miserable and cold, and you can't get yourself warm enough. So I really admire all of these poor animals that just sometimes just weather it, and they're standing there in the middle of nowhere. Just being like, okay, cool, the sun will shine, I'm just going to stay here. Of course, a lot of them have adaptations, like birds, the water won't generally penetrate to their down feathers, and they have oil on their feathers and makes the water go through. Or lions also, or leopards, or impala, or whatever the case, they have piloerection. They make themselves look fluffier, also so that they can keep warm and not be as cold. Or they go, retreat into under the trees and so on. But in general, if you've been out there and you've gotten wet on a thunderstorm, it's not pleasant feeling. And we always have the thought of like, oh, cool, it's nice, I'm going to go home and I'm going to take a nice shower and then I'll be happier. But these animals don't have the chance. So I think even in the summertime, they generally deserve a lot more credit than what we give them for. Oh, Andy, that's a good update. Thank you. You're saying that the wild dogs that we saw in the camp and that they fed or that killed the impala have 8 pups. So yes. So if they fed already, they would have gone back to the den, and that is a pretty amazing behavior from the wild dogs. So, I mean, it depends on how old the pups are, but generally at sort of 8 months, the pups or so are either left behind with a nanny, and they keep moving them because they're not already in the den. They're a little bit more mobile. And what is really amazing is that the wild dogs will feed, and then they will go back to the den to the pups and whoever was left behind to look after the puppies, and they will regurgitate their food. And it's this amazing, very vocal greeting ritual that they do, where they'll start like whining and sniffing, and then they'll go and regurgitate the food, and the puppies get really excited and they all run around, and you see the adults giving them the food back. So yeah, if they've got pups, I'm sure if the pups weren't there, they probably would have gone back to feed the puppies as well, depending on the size. Generally, the older the little puppies become, or I'd say from about 6 to 8 months of age, then you'll see that they'll start running with the rest of the pack. If they're really small, then they leave them in the den, and then the pack goes hunting, and then they'll come back. But it's been a really strange year, this one, because we've had a lot of packs, or in the Kruger area anyway, denning at around, April, March, and they generally only do it in May, which is very strange. Okay, on the carcass, let's see. I mean, I'm gonna say actually this looks like a Wahlberg's rather than a Tony. No, you are a Tony. I take it back. Okay, well, are you enjoying whatever was it left behind? So you see that the wild dogs have done everyone a service, and they haven't just found food for themselves. They've actually created an entire meal for some of the other creatures, and equals involved. It's definitely, I think it also got lucky because it was just such a big, what do you call this? It was such a big carcass out in the open that it would be easier for anything else to actually come and see it from the sky. I don't know where I'm listening. I just want to see where you're going. I'm saying things, but I don't think it's a tawny eagle. Sorry, I struggle with birds, as you all know, but I actually think from the tail shape that it's actually a kite. I've called this poor bird all the things. It's just the face looks very kite-wise. Now that I look at it. Look at that. Let's call it a kite, yellow-billed kite. Oh, well, Kirst, thank you. She says that it is for sure a bird. Yes, thank you, Kirst. I really appreciate it. But no, I'm going to stick around with my yellow-billed kite, which would make sense because they're also scavengers. So they would be the yellow-billed kite, the batelier, and then the tawny eagle. They all kind of look the same. They're all of a brownish color. They all kind of stand around the same. But the kite has this, what is the word, like almost like a W shape of a fork tail. Let's call it that. It's probably more correct, and they just have this white around their faces. So when it looked at us, had to take a double take on the bird, but I think that's what it is. There's actually a lot of meat left here. There's got to be some other animals coming and eating tonight from this. I mean, if we've got the kite here now, maybe tomorrow we'll have something else, perhaps. If the hyenas or a leopard or jackals don't drag it somewhere else, you might even have vultures and things coming down and just trying to feed on whatever it is that is left. I'm sorry, is that not to your liking? Are you looking for another spot? Maybe it's got too many options, and that's why it doesn't know where it wants to go, because it seems where it's headed, I would guess that's where the kill happened, judging by the amount of red that there is, and maybe where the stomach contents got all spread out and so on before it got dragged to the final position. So I think this kite is just looking for the nice little meaty parts that were left behind. Maybe some organs, because they don't always go for the intestines. They prefer to go for the good stuff, and I think this kite over here has actually found the jackpot. People agree. Yellow-billed kite. Good. I'm glad we all agree on it. It just took a while between the pixelation and how bad my eyes are to actually see what it was. Oh, Karu, you're saying that this is a new raptor for you. Well, this is very cool. We only get them around here in the summer, and funny enough, for 2 years in a row, I've seen my very first kite on the 31st of August, which it was funny because both times I was on my way to Palaborwa. So very specific situations to have in two years in a row. So they're here for the long run. They're going to be here all summer. So hopefully you'll see a lot more of them. and they're actually pretty cool birds. They're very, very pretty. Smaller than a Tony eagle and a warbird, I would say. And, you know, at least one that is taking advantage of a free meal. So we actually know who the smart foreigner or migratory bird is, don't we? It's almost like slim picking, just choosing for all the things. Alrighty, well, I think we are going to leave this beautiful bird, and I am going to say goodbye for today. But thanks everyone for joining, and don't forget, you get to watch the wild moments on the Thursday show. See you all then.